Okay guys, this video is about finding the area of a triangle. Well, you're saying this doesn't look like a triangle. This looks like a parallelogram. And normally for a parallelogram, we would just have to do, let's say this is 4 and this is 3 centimeters. And we would just have to do 4 multiplied by 3. And so our answer would have gotten us as 12 centimeters squared, 12 squared centimeters. And that would be correct. But what if we take this and make it into a triangle? So if I erase half of it, now I just erased half of the area. So triangle has half of the area of a rectangle. And therefore, we have to take the overall area that we had before. We just multiplied 4 times 3. Take that, which was 12, and divide it by 2, because a triangle has only half the space that a rectangle used to have. We don't have that part anymore, so we take it away by dividing the overall answer by 2. So 12 divided by 2 in a triangle here would only be 6 centimeters squared. In this next figure, we have a triangle that has a base of 8 centimeters and a height of 4, so we have to take the base multiplied by the height and divide the whole thing by 2, because triangles have half the area of parallelograms. So base times height is 8 times 4, which is 32. We take half of that, which would be 16, label it as 16 centimeters squared. 16 squared centimeters would be the correct answer for this. The other way of looking at the formula would be 1/2 times base times height gives you the area, the overall area. So 1/2 times 8 times 4. Let's see if it works this way as well. Half of 8 is 4. We multiply it by the other 4, and we get the answer of 16 centimeters squared. So we can do it this way, 1/2 times base times height. Half is because, again, the area of any triangle is half the size of a parallelogram. So we do 1/2 of the base times the height. We can also do it this way, base times height divided by 2. But this way works as well as the other way, and both give you the same exact answer, 16 squared centimeters. What if we have a triangle that is flipped upside down? Well, you still have to do the same thing. You have to do the base multiplied by the height. So it's going to be 3.5 multiplied by 2. But remember that that overall answer has to be then divided by 2. So we can do it this way. We can set up the whole problem as 3.5 times 2. So 3.5 would be multiplying and adding, changing this to improper fraction. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7 over 2 times 2, which is the same thing as 2 over 1. We can cross reduce. 2 and 2 are divisible by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 7 times 1 is 7. 1 times 1 is 1. This overall answer comes out to be as 7. That was the answer to the numerator. We still have that over 2. 7 divided by 2. Well, 2 can go into 7 3 times with a remainder of 1. And we keep it over the same denominator. So the overall area comes out to be 3.5 squared centimeters. That's option number 1. Option number 2. 1/2 times base times height. Multiply the 3 parts here. 1/2, the base was 3.5. The height was 2. Now, commutative property tells us that if we have 3 values and we are multiplying all 3 of them, we can move the order to make it easier for us to solve. For example, finding half, multiplying half by 3.5 is not as easy as multiplying half by 2, or finding half of 2. So we're going to do half multiplied by 2, and then multiplied by 3.5. Half of 2 is easy. Half of 2 is 1. 1 multiplied by any number, multiplied by 3.5 in this case, 1 multiplied by anything stays as that anything. So 1 multiplied by 3.5 is 3.5. This is labeled as centimeters. area is squared. 3.5 squared centimeters is the same answer as we got before, doing it the other way by multiplying base times height and then dividing it by 2. Your choice as to which way you want to do it. If you're giving a problem where they give you the area, which is the answer to the space inside, and they're also giving you the base, for example, the base is 5 centimeters, so we label it 5 centimeters. And we have the answer of 35 centimeters squared as the area, 35 squared centimeters. We're missing the actual height. They're going to ask you to find the height. So you write up the formula, 1/2 multiplied by base multiplied by height gives you the area. The area we know is 35. The half is still a half. The base is the 5. And the height is missing. We don't know what the height is. So 1/2 times 5 times what number gives us 35. Now, we're going to have to do half of 5 first. Half of 5. Well, you could try to do mental math if you would like to. Half of 5 is 2.5. 2.5 multiplied by h gives you 35. 2.5 times what number gives us 35? We have to go backwards to try to solve this problem. So we're going to have to do 35, the opposite of multiplying. This is multiplying because there's no symbol here. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So take 35 and divide it by 2.5. Now 35 is the same thing as 35 over 1. 2.5, we multiply and add. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, over the same denominator, which is 2. Now, when dividing, don't ask why, flip the second, which this changes to 2 over 5, and multiply. So this is 35 over 1. You can cross-reduce once you change it to multiplication here. So 35 and 5 are both divisible by 5. Divide this by 5, you get 1. Divide this by 5, you get 7. Now we have to multiply 7 times 2, which is 14. 1 times 1 is 1. 14 divided by 1 is 14. That's option number 1. Let's erase this work and see if we can get an answer a different way. So our other choice of doing this problem is multiplying base times height and then dividing the answer by 2. Remember, base times height and then divided by 2 gives you area. Okay? That was, I'm going to use this instead of doing half times base times height to give us area. This was option number 1. Now we're going to do option number 2. Base times height divided by 2 gives us area. Base is 5. Height is, we don't know. We take the whole thing divided by 2, and our answer came out to be 35. Let's think about what's happening in the problem. 5 times what number divided by 2 gives us 35. This might be easier for some of you, so let's try to work it this way. The opposite of dividing by 2, because this is dividing by 2, is multiplying by 2. So let's take 35 and do the opposite of dividing by 2, which is multiply by 2. 35 times 2 is 70. We did that part. Now, 5 times what number gives us 70? Well, the opposite of multiplying by 5 is dividing by 5. So we're going to divide by 5 then. 70 divided by 5 is 14. So we got 14 either way. The proper answer for this height would be 14 centimeters.